Samye, Pitamaha Samah Samye. When it comes to equanimity of mind, will be as good as the grandfather, as a child's grandfather. So that equanimity of mind specifically means he will not hate anyone. So he will equally not hate anyone. Mental equanimity, like the grandfathers, refers to both Maharaj Yudhishthir and Brahma, the grandfather of all living beings. According to Sridhar Swami, the grandfather referred to is Brahma, but according to Vishwanath Chakravarti, the grandfather is Maharaj Yudhishthir himself. But in both cases, the comparison is equally good because both of them are recognized representatives of the Supreme Lord. And thus, both of them have to maintain mental equanimity, being engaged in welfare work for the living being. Any responsible executive agent at the top of administration has to tolerate different types of onslaughts from the very persons for whom he worships, for whom he works. So this is the meaning of uh, equal in terms of not hating anyone. Brahmaji was criticized even by the gopis, the highest perfectional devotees of the Lord. The gopis were dissatisfied with the work of Brahmaji because Lord Brahma, as creator of this particular universe, created eyelids which obstructed their seeing Lord Krishna. They could not tolerate a moment's blinking of the eyes, for it kept them from seeing their beloved Lord Krishna. So, what to speak of others who are naturally very critical of every action of a responsible man? Similarly, Maharaj Yudhishthir had to cross over many difficult situations created by his enemies, and he proved to be the most perfect maintainer of mental equanimity in all critical circumstances. Therefore, the example of both grandfathers for maintaining equanimity of mind is quite fitting. Prasade Girishopamaha. Lord Shiva is a demigod celebrated for awarding gifts to beggars. Beggars meaning those who beg from him. His name is therefore Ashutosh, or one who is pleased very easily. He is also called the Bhutanath, or the Lord of the common folk, who are mainly attached to him because of his munificent gifts, even without consideration of the after effects. Ravana was very attached to Lord Shiva, and by easily pleasing him, Ravana became so powerful that he wanted to challenge the authority of Lord Ram. Of course, Ravana was never helped by Lord Shiva when he fought with Ram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Lord of Lord Shiva. To Vrikasura, Lord Shiva awarded a benediction which was not only awkward but also disturbing. Vrikasura became empowered by the grace of Lord Shiva to vanish anyone's head simply by touching it, to make what? By touching anyone's head, that head would vanish. Although this was awarded by Lord Shiva, the cunning fellow wanted to make an experiment of the power by touching the head of Lord Shiva. Thus, the Lord had to take shelter of Vishnu to save himself from trouble, and the Lord Vishnu and Lord Vishnu, by his illusory potency, asked Vrikasura to make an experiment with his own head. The fellow did it and was finished himself. So the world was saved from all sorts of trouble by such a cunning beggar of the demigods. The excellent point is that Lord Shiva never denies anyone any sort of gift. He is therefore the most generous, although sometimes some kind of a mistake is made. Rama means the goddess of fortune, and her shelter is Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu is the maintainer of all living beings. There are innumerable living beings not only on the surface of this planet, but also on all other hundreds of thousands of planets. All of these living beings are provided with all necessities of life for the progressive march towards the end of self-realization, but on the path of sense gratification, they are put into difficulty by the agency of Maya, the illusory energy, and so travel the path of a false plan of economic development. Such economic development is never successful because it is illusory. These men are always after the mercy of the illusory goddess of fortune, but they do not know that the goddess of fortune can live only under the protection of Vishnu. Therefore, Vishnu, the goddess of fortune, is an illusion. Without Vishnu, the goddess of fortune is an illusion. It means it only exists in the head of the people who are worshipping Devi, Lakshmi. We should therefore seek the protection of Vishnu instead of directly seeking the protection of the goddess of fortune. Only Vishnu and the devotees of Vishnu can give protection to all. And because Maharaj Parikshit was himself protected by Vishnu, it was quite possible for him to give complete protection to all who wanted to live under his rule. Yes, Prabhu.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Bro, without Vishnu, goddess fortune is illusion means does not understand, bro.
I just explained it. I said it only exists in the head of the worshipper. There is no Lakshmi Devi without Narayan.
Like, what about Srimad Radharani?
Yeah, without Lord Krishna, there is no Radharani. So those who try to make Lakshmi Devi happy without trying to make Lord Narayana happy, they are in an illusion. That is the point.
Okay, okay, bro.
24. सर्वसद्गुणमाहात्म्ये एष कृष्णमनुव्रतः रन्तिदेव इवोदारो ययातिरिव धार्मिकः. This child will be almost as good as Lord Sri Krishna by following in his footsteps. In magnanimity, he will become as great as King Rantideva. And in religion, he will be like Maharaj Yayati. साधारण जन चमत्कारार्थम पूर्ववद अन्यदपि किंचित ब्रूम. Despite all of these good qualities, in order to astonish ordinary people, the sage and the Brahmanas, they wanted to point out some more of good qualities of Parikshit Maharaj. Tan Mahimam Shena Govinda Sama. Because Parikshit will have a portion of the glory of Lord Govinda, he is equated with Lord Govinda, meaning he's on the same platform. The last instruction of Lord Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is that one should give up everything and should follow in the footsteps of the Lord alone. Less intelligent persons do not agree to this great instruction of the Lord, as ill luck would have it. But one who is actually intelligent catches up this sublime instruction and is immensely benefited. Foolish people do not know that association is the cause of acquiring qualities. See, I associate with someone, I get his qualities. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. Association with fire makes an object hot even in the material sense. Therefore, association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead makes one qualified like the Lord. As we have discussed previously, one can achieve 78% of the godly qualities by the Lord's intimate association. To follow the instructions of the Lord is to associate with the Lord. So whenever we come across expressions like associate with saintly authorities and so on, it means to carry out their instructions. Specifically, it means to carry out their instructions to execute first-class devotional service unto Krishna's lotus feet. Emphasis: the Lord is not a material object whose presence one has to feel for such association. End of emphasis. The Lord is present everywhere and at all times. It is quite possible to have his association simply by following his instruction, because the Lord and his instruction and the Lord and his name, fame, attributes and paraphernalia are all identical with him, being absolute knowledge. Maharaj Parikshit, associated with the Lord, even from the womb of his mother up to the last day of his valuable life. And thus he acquired all the essential good qualities of the Lord in all perfection. Ranti Deva, an ancient king prior to the Mahabharata period, referred to by Narada Muni while instructing Sanjaya, as mentioned in the Mahabharata, Drona Parva, 67. He was a great king, liberal for hospitality and distribution of foodstuff. Even Lord Shri Krishna praised his acts of charity and hospitality. He was blessed by the great Vasishtha Muni for supplying him cold water, and thus he achieved the heavenly planet. He used to supply fruits, roots, and leaves to the rishis, and thus he was blessed by them with fulfillment of his desires. Emphasis. Although a Kshatriya by birth, he never ate flesh in his life. End of emphasis. He was especially hospitable to Vasishtha Muni, by whose blessings alone he attained the higher planetary residence. He is one of those pious kings whose names are remembered in the morning and evening. Yayati, the great emperor of the world and the original forefather of all great nations of the world who belong to the Aryan and Indo-European stock. He is a son of Maharaj Nahusha, and he became the emperor of the world due to his elder brothers becoming a great and liberated saintly mystic. He ruled over the world for several thousands of years and performed many sacrifices and pious activities recorded in history, although his early youth was very lustful and full of romantic stories. Full of romantic stories only with two women, that's all. He fell in love with Devayani, the most beloved daughter of Shukracharya. Devayani wished to marry him, but at first he refused to accept her because of her being a daughter of a Brahmana. According to Shastras, a Brahmana could marry the daughter of a Kshatriya, but a Kshatriya could not marry the daughter of a Brahmana. They were very much cautious about Varna Sankara population in the world. Shukracharya amended this law of forbidden marriage and induced Emperor Yayati to accept Devayani. Devayani had a girlfriend named Sharmishtha, who also fell in love with the emperor and thus went with her friend Devayani. Shukracharya forbade Emperor Yayati to call Sharmishtha into his bedroom, but Yayati could not strictly follow his instruction. He secretly married Sharmishtha also and begot sons by her. When this became known to Devayani, she went to her father and lodged a complaint. This is very like in the cinemas of today. The son of the second wife once saw the father and just came and embraced him, saying, "Father." So that was seen by the first wife, and then immediately World War II happened. That's all. When this became known to Devayani, she went to her father and lodged a complaint. Yayati was very much attached to Devayani. And when he went to his father-in-law's place to call her, Shukracharya was angry with him and cursed him to become impotent. Yayati begged his father-in-law to withdraw his curse, but the sage asked Yayati to ask youthfulness from his sons and let them become old as the condition of his becoming potent. This is summarized in Bhagavatam also, I think 9th canto. He had 5 sons, 2 from Devayani and 3 from Sharmishtha. From his 5 sons, namely Yadu, Turvasu, Druksyu, Anu, and Puru, 5 famous dynasties, namely the Yadu dynasty, the Yavana Turk dynasty, the Bhoja dynasty, the Mlecha dynasty, Greek, and the Paurava dynasty all emanated to spread all over the world. He reached the heavenly planets by dint of his pious acts. But he fell down from there because of his self-advertisement and criticizing other great souls. After his fall, his daughter and grandson bestowed upon him their accumulated virtues. And by the help of his grandson and friend Shibi, he was again promoted to the heavenly kingdom, becoming one of the assembly members of Yamaraj, with whom he is staying as a devotee. He performed more than 1,000 different sacrifices, giving in charity very liberally, and was a very influential king. There's something in the chat box. What is that? While associating with the Lord and devotees also, one is carried by Maya. And there's a question mark next to it. What does that mean? Are you asking if that happens? It always happens. First of all, Krishna is always with us. He is next to us. He's inside us. He's also outside us. We are carried away by Maya. I turn away from Krishna, automatically Maya is waiting to capture me. He gives me desires for things which will give me misery. See, the greatest psychological punishment. He gives me things that I myself want, and she ensures that what I want will give me shoka moha bhaya. Why the Lord is not merciful? The Lord is very merciful. He's constantly telling, please turn towards me. Maya is very dangerous. Give her up. Please keep away from Maya. Keep away from Maya. He explains personally. He provokes us in the form of the super soul. He comes outside in the form of the spiritual master. The spiritual master and Vaishnavas. Spiritual master means perfect pure devotees. The Vaishnavas refer to sadhaka devotees. So he induces them to speak to us. He's telling so many things, and we think that Krishna is a little bit too much because we require basic space in life, and because we have all this crap in our head. Therefore, we have to experience the consequences. What can be done? Any dynasty is still at present? Dynasty? Kings? There are no kings in 20. Well, there are. I think there are a few countries with kings. Kings with sovereignty. There are kings like in England, for instance. The king or queen is basically a celebrity. Everyone likes the king or queen because it looks very nice. They're very nice. Better than worshipping pop stars is to worship the queen or the king. They also give in charity. So they're there. In India, are the kings still there? There may be a few. I heard one of the kings in, there are so many kings, there are hundreds of kings in India. One of the kings became a driver in Australia, I was told. And there are all kinds of people. I remember Sri Prahlad Prabhu, we were once in Jaipur, and one young gentleman, he came and met Sri Prahlad Prabhu when he was talking to him. And he was saying, I'm a king. I own this, it was a big, some 3-star hotel or something, one of these tourist resorts. It's mine, fine. Used to be a palace, converted into a resort. And once a year, some of these brahmanas, they come and they worship me. They do puja, they fall at my feet. They put, what is this thing? Sorry, they put this thing now. Sindoor-like thing. They do all that. They dress me up as a king. So one day in a year, I'm still a king. But he was just wearing ordinary pant and shirt, and he was just eating in some restaurant and talking different things. So that's the fate of corrupt kings. Once you become corrupt, then your entire descendants, everyone is going to be vanquished like that. Otherwise, these are all just historical relic pieces. No? Otherwise, no one takes them seriously. Democracy came up because they wanted to, I think it was Voltaire who said, society will become peaceful only when you, first of all, kill the priests, cut open their stomach, take their intestines out, and with those intestines, strangle the kings to death. Then only society will become peaceful. Nowadays also people do think like that sometimes. But when the kings become corrupt and the priests become corrupt, all these things happen. Anyway, it's important for us. We should also be, unless we are pure, people will start saying these kind of things also. That kill you, cut your stomach, take your intestines out, and strangle someone else with that. Mohan Radhapati.
Do the Kshatriyas generally eat this flesh? Like,
yeah, they're allowed to eat medhya mamsa. There are previously. In Kali Yuga, anyway, animal sacrifices are forbidden. But in prior to that, Kshatriyanal is so contaminated. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not even go inside Prataparudra's palace now. Not even go inside. It's all some simply woman enjoyment. No serious practicing Vaishnava would have anything to do with this. This was despite Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya certifying that King Prataparudra was a great devotee, and despite Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself acknowledging that Prataparudra is a great devotee. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also acknowledged that Prataparudra is a devotee of Krishna. Still, his majestic power was felt all over the world. His youngest son agreed to award him his youthfulness when he was troubled with lustful desires, even for 1,000 years. Finally, he became detached from worldly life and returned the youthfulness again to his son Puru. Shukadeva Goswami also reports on Yayati's life. In Mahabharata, we have a detailed explanation, some of which is summarized here. The most important elements of that history is summarized here. But Bhagavatam 9th canto also talks about it. Actually, Yayati realized that no matter how much of sense enjoyment we experience, it is still a waste of time. It's just a waste of time because our material desires will only increase more and more. Imagine if we had a restaurant where after they give excellent food stuff, but after you eat it, after you finish eating it, your hunger becomes double. So the world of Maya is like that. It's a very excellent restaurant. And whatever we try to enjoy, our desires for enjoying that only increases. Highly addictive. Maybe there's a reason why Prabhupada uses the word inebriety repeatedly to describe material existence. It's intoxicating. It's a contamination, but it's an intoxicating contamination. Finally, he became detached from worldly life and returned the youthfulness again to his son Puru. He wanted to hand over the kingdom to Puru, but his noblemen and subjects did not agree. But when he explained to his subjects the greatness of Puru, they agreed to accept Puru as the king, and thus Emperor Yayati retired from family life and left home for the forest. Okay, so today's quota is over. Why today's quota is over? Maybe because 21 purport was long, but I covered it yesterday itself. So what I'll do is I'll take up Bhagavatarka Marichimala. I also thought that if we had time, we can go through some of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's explanations. That may not be time, but at least Bhaktivinoda Thakur would be simpler. Bhagavatarka Marichimala would be a good introduction to Shatsandarbha. Shatsandarbha is a bit more complicated. Bhagavatarka Marichimala is much more simpler. I'll take up directly the Bengali text, but I'll offer a running translation. Did we do this? I'm growing old. My memory is not clear. Did we do Bhagavatarka Marichimala? Did I start Bhagavatarka Marichimala as a part of it? No. Right. I'll keep it in two pages. Srimad Bhagavatarka Marichimala. Okay, Bhagavata means Srimad Bhagavatam. Arka means Surya. Marichi means ray. Mala Mala can mean garland, but mala also is a plural indicator. So Marichi Mala means rays, R-A-Y-S, rays. And Arka means sun. Bhagavatarka means the sun like Srimad Bhagavatam. S-U-N, sun like Srimad Bhagavatam. The rays emanating from the sun like Srimad Bhagavatam. Prathamaha Kiranaha. What is Kirana in English?
They say
Kiran.
ray only.
Kirana is also ray. Beam. A beam of rays. Pramana Nirdeshaha. An indication of Pramana. Actually, this indication of Pramana goes for 3 chapters. The actual chapter name should be Grantha Suchana, that we know from the Pushpika, from the Itivakya, at the colophon at the end of the chapter. This chapter is an indication about the book. This chapter actually means about this book. Kali Yuga Pavana Avataraya Namaha. Obeisance unto the incarnation who purifies Kali Yuga. 111. Janmadhyasya yatonmayaditaradhaschartheshu vigyaswarak. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavi Mukhyanti Yat Suraya. Tejovadi Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatrit Sargom Visha. Dham Nasvena Sada Nirastakuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. Okay, I know what I will do. I will here. Anyway, just click on now. I'll make it single. Here I will just so this is going to be what I'll do is O my Lord Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the 3 modes of nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Bhakti Vinod Thakura Krita Marichi Prabha Namni Vyakhya. He himself provided. See, Bhagavatarka Marichimala is a compilation of various Bhagavatam verses. But he also provided a commentary to these verses. The name of the commentary is Marichi Prabha. Prabha means illumination. So it means, the name of the commentary means illumination from the rays. The name of the book is Rays. Rays from the sun of Srimad Bhagavatam. The commentary means illuminations from the rays. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Chandraya Namaha. Obeisances unto Sri Krishna Chaitanya Chandra. Yat Kripaya Pravruto Ham Etasmin Grantha Sangrahe Tam Gaura Parshadam Vande Damodara Swarupakam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami. He is an associate of Lord Gauranga, and it is by his mercy that I have begun the compilation of this book. Swarup Damodar, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur towards the end of the book will explain, Swarup Damodar Goswami, he appeared to Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Samadhi, when Bhaktivinoda was in Samadhi, and instructed him that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants you to compile verses from Srimad Bhagavatam in a thematic manner for the benefit of the devotees. It will be studied by the Vaishnavas. And he provided the explanation to, Swarup Damodar Goswami provided an explanation to the first verse of the compilation, which should be Janmadhyasya Yataha verse. So like that, he gave an indication. You explain it in terms of Sambandha Vidaya Prayojana. It's a thematic presentation. As we see it, you will understand. भगवद अंतरंगा स्वरूप शक्ति अनुप्रकाश स्थलीया तटस्था जीव शक्ति एवं जीव प्रकाश स्थलीया बहिरंगा माया शक्ति. The marginal jiva potency is a minute manifestation of the internal personal potency of Bhagavan, and the Maya potency is the external potency, and it is a shadow of the internal personal potency of Bhagavan. Jiv Shakti Anvaiva Anuvritti Krame Jaiva Jagat. The community of Jivas have come about directly from the Jiva Shakti. Maya Shakti Anvaya Krame Jada Jagat. The world of matter has directly come about from Maya Shakti. Jeever Vyatirek va Vyavritti Buddhi va Mithyabhiman Roop Vivarta Krame Tahar Jagat Sambandha. It is because of the Jiva's attitude of self-denial. He is denying himself as a constitutional servant of Krishna because of his denial of himself, or in other words, his mithyabhiman, his false self-identification. As a result of the degrading transformation due to such mithyabhiman, he has a relationship with this material world. Uttaram, therefore, consequently, Anvay Vyatirek Jare Jaha hoite Charachar Vishwa Siddha hoy. So in this way, directly and indirectly, this world of the moving and non-moving have come about because of the absolute truth of him, whom refers to the absolute truth, Lord Krishna. Prakriti Purush Mahatattva Prabhriti Ashtabhinshati Tattva 10.16. There are 28 elements of existence, beginning with Prakriti, beginning with Purusha, Prakriti, Mahatattva, and so on. We will come across this in Bhagavatarka Marichimala's chapter 10, text 16. All the verses are actually, almost all the verses of Bhagavatarka Marichimala are simply Bhagavatam verses. Only towards the end, he gives some conclusion, 2 or 3 verses. Say, Tattvarup Artha Samuher Madhe Gya Tattva Swarup Jiver Upamai Jini Abhigya Arthat Sarvagya. So amongst all of these elements of existence, there is the Jivatma, who is the conscious Tattva, who is self-aware, who is aware of himself and who is aware of others, self-aware. That is the Jivatma. In comparison to the Jivatma, there is the Supreme Being who is Abhigya Tattva, who is all-knowing, who knows everything. He is Sarvagya. So the Jivatma is Gya, but the Supreme Absolute Truth is Abhigya. He is all-cognizant. जिनी पूर्ण शक्ति परिसेवित स्वीय स्वरूप शक्ति बले पूर्ण o swarat, and that absolute truth is perfect or complete and independent because of his personal potency, who is served by his perfect and complete potencies. जिनी कृपा करिया आदि कवि ब्रह्मार हृदये पंडित जनेर दुर्बोध्य अतएव मोहजनक विपुल वेद विस्तार करिया छिलेन. And that absolute truth, out of mercy, he expanded the extensive body of knowledge known as the Vedas, which, expanded body of knowledge known as the Vedas, in the heart of the original scholar, Lord Brahma. And this Vedic body of knowledge cannot be understood even by scholars. Therefore, it is bewildering. Sarga अर्थात सृष्टि तीन प्रकार, अर्थात चित सर्ग, जीव सर्ग और जड़ सर्ग. The word sarga refers to that which has been created. In other words, that which is dependent on the Lord, eternally dependent on the Lord. He is the eternal source of them. And it is of three types: Chit, Jiva, and Jada. Chit means spiritual substance, Jiva means the living entities, Jada means material substance. चित सर्गेर कथनचित दृष्टांतेर स्थल अग्नि अर्थात तेज पदार्थ. A partial accrued example to explain the spiritual substance is fire, meaning the fire element. Earth, water, fire are either fire elements. Agni alakshita thake. Agni is invisible. घर्षण आदि कोन क्रिया द्वारा प्रादुर्भूत है. It is through certain activities such as friction that fire becomes manifest. चिद व्यापार सकलई यथाजत रूपे नित्य थाके. All spiritual affairs actually are eternal. Bhagavad Itcha krame udita hoy. It is by the will of the Lord that they are revealed, they are manifested. जीव सर्गीय कथनचित दृष्टांतेर स्थल जल शीतलता क्रमे प्रस्तरवत कठिन एवं उष्णता क्रमे तरल है. A crude example to explain jiva. The jiva is the example of is water, the element water. Because of when it is cold, it becomes hard like a stone, it becomes ice. And when it is hot, then it becomes liquid. Bhagavad Surya Kirana Sthaliya Tadanksha Kana Swarup Jeev Bhagavad Bahirmukhata Krame Vivarta Dharmer Ashraye Mayabadha Hoy. Bhagavad Samukhya Krame Taral Hoya Bhagavad Prem Vikare Tat Seva Sathane Tatpar Hoy. The jiva is a particle of a portion of the Supreme Lord. So it can be compared to a particle, it can be compared to a ray from the sun. If you compare Bhagavan to the sun, then the jiva has to be compared to a ray emanating from that sun. This example is originally coming from Jiva Goswami, or at least it has been explained by Jiva Goswami in Bhagavad Sandarbha. because Jiva Goswami Shatsandarbha itself is derived from the teachings of Rupa and Sanatan. It appears that Rupa Sanatan taught Jiva Goswami many things. Okay. So when the Jiva becomes averse to Bhagavan, then he takes shelter of the nature of degrading transformations and then becomes arrested by Maya, Maya Bandha. When the living entity submissively faces the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he becomes as if a liquid, and he becomes absorbed in endeavoring to serve the Supreme Lord due to the transformations of love of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jada Sarger Kathanchit Drishtanta Stall Mrittika. A crude example to explain matter is clay. इहार परिणाम अर्थात विनिमय क्रमे घट कुंडलादि. Due to transformations of clay, due to interactions of different parts of clay, you get pots, you get earrings and so on. Clay here, of course, refers to the earth element. Just as fire element, water element, this is the earth element, which means solids. Solids, liquids, radiant energy. These are modern equivalents for earth, water, and fire. So, just as a pot, earrings, and so on are transformations of solid objects, like that. Jaha rachanti shakti krame parinato hoya ei trisarga kono kono sthale vinashya hoileyo satya rupe udit. By the absolute truth's inconceivable potencies, these three created entities become transformed, and even though in certain circumstances they are temporary, they're temporarily manifested, they are manifested as if real. Though they are temporary, still they're manifested as if real. It is this combination of these three that he's talking about. Shaktir karje anugrah kuriyavo jini swiya dham arthat swarupe nitya prithak aparinata o purna shakti bhagavan bhakta jiver premaspad. So the Supreme Lord, even though he blesses the Shakti, the potencies to produce their respective effects, he is eternally distinct from them in his own dham, which in this context refers to his own nature, his own personality. And this Bhagavan, Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is still eternally untransformed. So even though his potencies are transformed, he is not transformed. And he is filled with complete and perfect potencies. He is the object of love for those jivas who are his devotees. Say Param Satya Swarup Golok Vrajadham Pati Shri Krishner Chidanandamoy Naam Smaran Kirtan O Rup Gun Leela Dhyan Sadhan Dwara Amra Upasana Kori. we meditate upon the master of Goloka Vrajadham. He is the supreme truth. And we do this meditation by engaging in the activities of remembrance and chanting of his holy names, which are spiritual and blissful. And we meditate upon his forms, qualities, and pastimes. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shikshita Achintya Bheda Bheda Roop Param Tattva Vyakhyan Dwara E Mangalacharan Hoilo. So an auspicious invocation has been made here by explaining the supreme truth of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva as taught by Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Adau Veda Pramana Sambandhe Bhagavan Uddhava. And right in the beginning, Bhaktivinoda Thakur takes up statements from Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to Uddhava regarding the authoritative nature of the Vedas. 11.14.3 to 13. 11.14.3. Here it is. I will read out this. Sometimes there are slight differences in pathas. Only very occasionally. Kalena nashta pralaye vaniyam veda sangita mayado brahmane prokta dharmo yasyam madatmakraha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, by the influence of time, the transcendental sound of Vedic knowledge was lost at the time of annihilation. Therefore, when the subsequent creation took place, I spoke the Vedic knowledge to Brahma because I myself am the religious principles enunciated in the Vedas. Bhagavan ko hile. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Hey Uddhava, O Uddhava, pralaye Veda Sangita Bani kale adrishya pray hoyachilo. The teachings known as the Vedas had almost become invisible, it's imperceptible at the time of dissolution. Sei Vede Atma Rati Dharma Patita Chilo. In that Veda was taught the dharma of attraction to the Supreme Self. Here Atma refers to the Lord Himself, Himself, attraction to Himself. Kalparambhe Brahma ke Shai Ved Ami Boliyachila. At the beginning of the next Kalpa, I myself spoke that Veda to Brahma. Tena prokta swaputraya manave purvajaya sa tato bhrikvadayo grihnan sapta brahma maharshayah. Lord Brahma spoke this Vedic knowledge to his eldest son Manu, and the 7 great sages headed by Bhrigu Muni then accepted the same knowledge from Manu. Brahmar pratham putram Manu ke ini taha shiksha diyat shilen. And he taught this to Brahma taught this to his first son Manu. Manohoite Bhrigwadi Saptarshi Maharshi Taha Prapta Hoilen. The 7 sages headed by Bhrigu received it from Manu. Tebhya Pitrubhyas Tatputra Devadanava Guhyaka Manushya Siddhagandhar Vah. Typing mistake. Savidyadhara Charana Kim Deva Kim Nara Naga Raksha Kim Purushadayah Bhahyastesham Prakritayo Rajas Sattvam Tamo Bhuvaha. from the forefathers. Wait, let me also read out the next verse. याभिर्भूतानि भिद्यन्ते भूतानां पतयस्तथा यथा प्रकृति सर्वेषां चित्रावाच स्रवन्ति हि. From the forefathers headed by Bhrigu Muni and other sons of Brahma appeared many children and descendants who assumed different forms as demigods, demons, human beings, Guhyakas, Siddhas, Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, Charanas, Kimdevas, Kimnaras, Nagas, Kimpurushas, and so on. All of the many universal species, along with their respective leaders, appeared with different natures and desires generated from the three modes of material nature. Therefore, because of the different characteristics of the living entities within the universe, there are a great many Vedic rituals, mantras, and rewards. Just 1 minute. Ahader nikate, Ahader putra shapa, Dev, Danav, Guhya, Manushya, Siddha, Gandharva, Vidyadhar, Charan, Kindev, Kinnar, Naga, Raksho, Kimpurush, Sakal, Prapta Bhailing. And then they, from their sons, there were Devas, Danavas, Uchikas, Manushyas, Siddhas, Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, Charanas, Kindevas, Kinnaras, Nagas, Rakshasas, and Kimpurushas, and all of them received Vedic knowledge. Rajas Sattva और तमो गुण जात बहुविध प्रकृति आदि के आश्रय करिल. And Rajoguna, Sattva-guna, Tamo-guna, based on these three modes, there are several varieties of conditioning natures. So these conditioned natures took shelter of them. Chai bahuprakar prakriti dara भूत समूहेर ও তাহাদের প্রতিদিগের পরস্পর ভেদ লক্ষিত হইল. Because of these several conditioned natures, all these creatures as well as their masters were identified as having distinctions between each other. যাহাদের যে রূপ প্রকৃতি তদ্রূপ তাহাদের পৃথক পৃথক বিচিত্র বাক্য সকল নির্গত হইতে লাগিল. And corresponding to their respective conditioned natures, a variety of statements came out of them. What it means is, there are 4 subject matters ultimately that can be discussed: Pramana, Tattva, Sadhya, and Sadhana. What is a valid source of knowledge? What exists in this world? What are we meant to achieve? And how are we meant to achieve? The same Veda has come down to all of them. But because they all have different conditioned natures, all of them will develop different understandings now of what the Vedas say about Pramana, Tattva, Sadhya, and Sadhana. एवं प्रकृति वैचित्र्याद भिद्यन्ते मतयो नृणाम पारंपर्येण केषांचित् पाषण्डं मतयो परे. Thus, due to the great variety of desires and natures among human beings, there are many different theistic philosophies of life which are handed down through tradition. There are also teachers who directly support atheistic viewpoints. এই প্রকার प्रकृति भेद जनित मानव दिगेर मत बहुविध हईल. In this manner, the opinions of the views of human beings also became different of several kinds because they're all born from differences due to their conditioned natures. Guru Parampara Krame Kahar Kahar Mot Tulilo. So specific viewpoints descended through Guru Paramparas. Abar keho Pashanda Mot Samuho Vistar Korite Lagilo. And then some of them, they started to spread atheistic opinions. Pashanda means atheistic. That means you don't accept Vedic authority. They started giving their own understanding about Pramana, Tattva, Sadhya, Sadhana, without even consulting Vedic authority, because they don't accept the Vedas as an authority in the first place. Man Maya Mohita Dhiya, Purusha Purushashabha, Shreyo Vadantyane Yatha Karma Yatha Ruchi. Or best among men, the intelligence of human beings is bewildered by my illusory potency. And thus, according to their own activities and whims, they speak in innumerable ways about what is actually good for people. Bhagavad Bhakti Tatparja. Actually, this paragraph should have been placed here. The intent of the statement of Supreme Personality of Godhead so far is this. Veda Shastre Vishitta Bhakti Shikshita Ache. It is spotless devotion service unto Krishna that is taught in the Vedic scriptures. The Lord already mentioned that. Dharma in the form of attraction to me is what constitutes Vedic knowledge. When he taught Brahma, in that context, the Lord mentioned that. Veda Badidihe Prakriti Doshe Nana Prakar Mot O Bahu Prakar Karma O Jnaner Vyavastha. It is due to the defects of the conditioned natures of the proponents of the Vedas that there is a variety, a great variety of viewpoints and a great variety of arrangements for activities and understandings. Vastutaha, in reality, Vedai Manaver Ekmatra Praman O Shiksha Guru. It is the Veda alone that is the source of valid knowledge and Shiksha Guru for the human beings. There's another basis for this. Right. Jiva Goswami refers to it. This is 11.20.4. Pitradeva Manushyanam. Here when Bhaktivinoda Thakur says for human beings, it's not just human beings and all the species of life higher than human being up to the residents of Brahmaloka. All of them. All of them. Pitradeva Manushyanam Vedaschakshustaveshwara Shreyastvanupalabdhirthe Sadhya Sadhana Yorapi. My dear Lord, to understand those things beyond direct experience, such as spiritual liberation or the attainment of heaven and similar material enjoyments, and in general to understand the means and end of all things. It is imperative that the forefathers, demigods, and human beings consult the Vedic literatures, for these literatures, being your own laws, constitute the highest evidence and revelation. The idea is this. If one wants to understand things which are not directly perceived, and if one wants to understand the means and end related to the Purusharthas, other than the Vedas, you have no other authentic source of knowledge. The Veda helps you understand what you cannot perceive, tattva, what is beyond your perception, sense perception. Apart from that, the Vedas also tell you about sadhya and sadhana. The Vedas tell you what can be achieved. The Vedas tell you how they can be achieved. So consequently, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said in Marichi Prabha here that Vastutava Vedai Manaver Ekmatra Praman. Therefore, the Veda alone is a source of valid knowledge, and it is the factual Shiksha Guru. Therefore, first of all, we should accept the Vedas. First of all, we should accept Vedas. Then comes the Siddha Parampara, the Parampara of perfect persons who have realized the teachings of the Vedas. Then the teachings of those who are superior to ourselves and who are guiding us, the spiritual master. Tahate matobad pravesh koraya, Shuddha Bhakti Shiksha hoite, pratak pratak mat pracharita hoyache. Because various sectarian opinions have been injected into them. Therefore, opinions different from the teachings pertaining to pure devotion service to Lord Krishna have been spread. Then coming to the current verse, Hey Purusharshava, O best of human beings, Amar Maya Kartrik Mohita Buddhi Purush Sakal, स्वीय स्वीय कर्म और रुचि अनुसारे जीवेर श्रेय के अनेक नाम दिया व्याख्या करें. Because people's intelligence have been bewildered by my Maya in terms of their respective activities and tastes. They propound that which is going to benefit all the living beings in different names. Now Lord Krishna himself will start explaining that. Dharma mein ke yashaschanye kama satyam damam shamam. Damam. Anye vadanti swartham vai aishwaryam tyaga bhojanam. Kechid yagyam tapodanam vratani niyaman yaman. No, it is damam only, not damaha. 2.1. Some say that people will be happy by performing pious religious activities. Others say that happiness is attained through fame, sense gratification, truthfulness, self-control, peacefulness, self-interest, political influence, opulence, renunciation, consumption, sacrifice, penance, charity, vows, regulated duties, or strict disciplinary regulation. Each process has its proponents. This is going on even now. Even in 2024, you will come across this. Different people, each one has got a different philosophy of life. Keho bolen, dharma hi ekmatra shreya. Some say dharma alone is good. Keho bolen, joshai jive shreya. Some say no, reputation is what is good for the living being. Keho bolen, kamai shreya. Some say no, sense gratification is what is actually good. Keho bolen, sati shreya. Some say no, truthfulness is what is good. Oh, keho bolen, and some say shama damai shreya. Some say that control of the mind and control of the senses, self-discipline, this is what is good. Keho bolen, aishwarjay shreya. Some say no, opulence is what is good. Attainment of opulence is what is good. Keho bolen, tyag arthat sannyasi shreya. Some say acceptance of sannyas, renunciation in the form of acceptance of sannyas is what is actually good. Keho bolen, bhojan arthat vishay bhogai shreya. Some think that enjoyment, meaning enjoyment of sense objects, is what is actually good. Keho bolen, jaggai shreya. Some say that no, fire sacrifices, performance of fire sacrifices is what is actually good. Keho bolen, tapasya shreya. Some say it is austerity is actually good. Keha bolen, dani shreya. Say it is charity, giving away. That is good. Keho keho bolen, broth, niyam, or jamai shrestha. Something that it is acceptance of vows, acceptance of various restrictions, uh, acceptance of certain elementary moral principles, certain preliminary, elementary or moral do's and don'ts, which is actually good. आद्यंतवंते वैशाम लोका कर्म विनिर्मिता वृक्षोदर्का स्तमोनिष्ठा क्षुद्रामंदा शुचार्पिता. All the persons I have just mentioned obtain temporary fruits from their material work. Indeed, the meager and miserable situations they achieve bring future unhappiness and are based on ignorance. Even while enjoying the fruits of their work, such persons are filled with lamentation. এই সমস্ত লোকের কর্ম বিনির্মিত লোক অর্থাৎ গতিস্থান আদি ও অন্ত বিশিষ্ট অর্থাৎ অনিত্য, চরমে দুঃখময়, অমনিষ্ঠ, ক্ষুদ্র, জড়ময় ও শোকব্যাপ্ত. The destinations, the worlds which are literally created by these, all of these pious activities performed by all of these people. When you engage in pious activities, this kind of expression is used. You conquer the worlds of Swarga, or you create the worlds of Swarga and so on, which simply means that you are given access to these worlds. So the worlds that are achieved through all of these pious activities, they have a beginning and an end. In other words, they are temporary. Ultimately, attainment of these pious destinations bring about distress. Achievement of these destinations are also founded on ignorance. It's also petty. It is material. And it is filled with sorrow. Sorrow pervades through all of them. मयि अर्पितात्मनः सभ्य निरपेक्षस्य सर्वतः मयात्मना सुखम यत्तत् कुतः स्याद् विषयात्मनाम्. O learned Uddhava, those who fix their consciousness on me, giving up all material desires, share with me a happiness that cannot possibly be experienced by those engaged in sense gratification. Hey Sabhya, Uddhava, O learned Uddhava, বেদের মূল তাৎপর্য যে ভক্তি তাহা যাহারা লাভ করেন তাহারা পরম নিত্য স্বরূপ আমাতে আত্মাকে অর্পণ করেন. Those who attain the fundamental purport of the Vedas in the form of devotional service unto me, bhakti, they offer their very selves to me. I am the supreme eternal, and they offer themselves to me. অতএব তাহারা জড় সুখ হইতে নিরপেক্ষ. Therefore, they are indifferent to material happiness. আমাতে যে সুখ লাভ হয় তাহা কি জড় বিষয় পিপাসুদের হইতে পারে? Can those who are thirsting for material objects attain the happiness that is found in me? अकिंचनस्य दान्तस्य शान्तस्य समचेतसः मया सन्तुष्टमनसः सर्वा सुखमया दिशः. One who does not desire anything within this world, who has achieved peace by controlling his senses, whose consciousness is equal in all conditions, and whose mind is completely satisfied in me, finds only happiness wherever he goes. আমার ভক্ত সকল অকিঞ্চন অর্থাৎ জড় বিষয়কে বিষয় বলেন না. All of my devotees are akinchana. They do not desire anything, akinchana. Prabhupada's disciples have explained it like this. In other words, they do not accept material objects as objects of enjoyment. Tahara, danta, arthat, jitendriya. They are danta, which means that their senses are under their control. Tahara shanta, arthat mon tahade boshibhuta. They are shanta, which means they are peaceful, which means that their minds are under their control. Tahara, samacheta, अर्थात चिन्मात्र समबुद्धि और जड़मात्र तुच्छ बुद्धि विशिष्ट. They are equal minded. In other words, they have an attitude of equanimity towards everything that is spiritual, and they consider everything material to be equally insignificant. Ahara amake labh koriya santushta mona. Attaining me, their minds are filled with satisfaction and happiness. Sakal dikeyi tahader pokkhe sukhmoy. They experience happiness from all directions. Na parameshtyam, na mahendra drishnyam, na sarvabhaumam, na rasadhipatyam, na yoga siddhi apunar bhavam va, mayyarpitatme chatimad vinanyat. The one who has fixed his consciousness on me desires neither the position or abode of Lord Brahma or Lord Indra, nor an empire on the earth, nor sovereignty in the lower planetary systems, nor the eightfold perfection of yoga, nor liberation from birth and death. Such a person desires me alone. Amate jahadir chitto arpito hoiyache, ahara parameshti brahmar pod, Indra pod, जगते सार्वभौम पद रसातलेर आधिपत्य যত প্রকার জড়ীয় যোগ সিদ্ধি আছে তৎ সমুদয় এবং আত্মনির্বাণ রূপ অপনুর্ভব লইতে ইচ্ছা করেন না. Those who have offered their minds to me, they do not desire to attain the post of the supreme authority Brahma, the post of Indra, the post of an unrivaled emperor on earth, sovereignty in Rasatala, the various material mystic perfections of different kinds, and self-annihilation in the form, and liberation in the form of self-annihilation. কেবল আমার চিত সেবাই তাহারা প্রার্থনা করেন. They only pray for spiritual service to me. অদ্বয় পরমজ্ঞান বিষয়ে প্রমাণ অনুসন্ধান অসম্ভব. Regarding supreme knowledge of the non-dual absolute truth, it is impossible to attain that simply by going through these sources of knowledge. So it is impossible to attain knowledge, correct knowledge, supreme transcendental knowledge about the non-dual absolute truth, supreme personality of Godhead, simply by pursuing these sources of knowledge. 11.19.17. श्रुति प्रत्यक्षमैतिह्यम् अनुमानं चतुष्टयम् प्रमाणेष्वन्नवस्थानात् विकल्पात् स विरज्यते. From the four types of evidence, Vedic knowledge, direct experience, traditional wisdom, and logical induction, one can understand the temporary, insubstantial situation of the material world and thus become detached from the duality of this world. The four types of evidence cited here are often mutually contradictory in their description of the highest truth. One should therefore be detached from the duality of mundane evidence, including the portions of the Vedas that deal with the material world. This is all from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Instead, one should accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the actual authority. That point is derived from Bhagavatarga Marichimala, actually. যাহারা যুক্তিকে প্রধান জ্ঞান করেন, তাহারা শব্দ প্রমাণ অর্থাৎ শ্রুতি প্রত্যক্ষ অর্থাৎ ইন্দ্রিয় সাক্ষাৎকার জনিত জ্ঞান, ঐতিহ্য অর্থাৎ ইতিহাসে যে পরম্পরাগত সংবাদ পাওয়া যায় এবং অনুমান অর্থাৎ প্রত্যক্ষ জনিত জ্ঞান হইতে অপ্রত্যক্ষ জ্ঞানের সন্ধান, এই প্রকার প্রমাণ সকল অনুসন্ধান করিয়া যখন তাহা হইতেও সন্ধান হয়, তখন প্রমাণ মাত্রকেই অনবস্থ জ্ঞান করিয়া তাহা হইতে নিরস্ত হন. I think that is a mistake in the typing. Wait. Let me look at the original edition. Original edition 19.2. Sandeha hoy. I doubt it is. Sandeha, sandhan hoy, sandeha. Should I then just use this? And I should split this. So those who give primary importance to yukti, logical analysis, they develop doubts even by studying Shabda Praman, meaning the Shruti scriptures. They develop doubts about Pratyaksha also. Pratyaksha refers to knowledge which is directly generated by the senses. They develop doubts about Aitihya also. Aitihya refers to knowledge gathered from historical sources through a series of persons. Knowledge, historical knowledge which has come down. And about logical inference itself. Logical inference is the pursuit of knowledge which is not perceived from knowledge which is directly perceived by the senses. A standard textbook example. You look at a mountain and you see smoke. And then you come to the conclusion, fire is burning somewhere on the other side of the mountain. How do you know that? Because you know you're not able to see that fire. But still you come to that conclusion. Why do you come to that conclusion? Because you know that wherever there is smoke, there is fire. At least we think like that. Based on that, we come to the conclusion that there is smoke, therefore there is fire. So this is a pursuit. This is coming to a conclusion about something that you don't see based on what you see. So this is known as logical inference. So despite a person who depends on logical analysis, yukti, rational analysis, even when he pursues all of these sources of knowledge, he develops doubts. তখন প্রমাণ মাত্রকেই অনবস্থ জ্ঞান করিয়া তাহা হইতে নিরস্ত হন. When he considers that all of these sources of knowledge are not providing me indubitable, they're not providing me knowledge which are beyond doubts. Certain knowledge, it's called knowledge which produces certainty. Therefore, he desists from all of this. That is what is referred to here. Deva Bhagavantam. 6.9.33. The Devas spoke to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 6.9.33. Let me take it up. It's a prose passage. 6.9.33. What's the verse after this? Sometimes yes, here it appears as text 34. Is this the one? Nothing zero. No. Here, this one. It's 36 here. Nahi virodha ubhayam bhagavatya parimita guna gana ishvare anavagahya mahatmye arvachina vikalpa vitarka vichara pramanabhasa kutarka shastra kalilantah karnashaya dur avagraha vadinam vivada an avasare uparata samasta maya maye kevala eva atmamayantar Konvartho durghata iva bhavati swarupadvaya bhavat. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, all contradictions can be reconciled in you, O Lord. Since you are the Supreme Person, the reservoir of unlimited spiritual qualities, the Supreme Controller, your unlimited glories are inconceivable to the conditioned souls. Many modern theologians argue about right and wrong without knowing what is actually right. Their arguments are always false and the judgments inconclusive because they have no authorized evidence with which to gain knowledge of you. Because their minds are agitated by scriptures containing false conclusions, they are unable to understand the truth concerning you. Furthermore, because of polluted eagerness to arrive at the right conclusion, their theories are incapable of revealing you, who are transcendental to their material conceptions. You are one without a second, and therefore in you, contradictions like doing and not doing, happiness and distress are not contradictory. Your potency is so great that it can do and undo anything as you like. With the help of that potency, what is impossible for you? Since there is no duality in your constitutional position, you can do everything by the influence of your energy. Hey Bhagavan, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, Tomate Atma Ramatva, O Aprakrita Gun, Vishishtatva Roop, Paraspara Viruddha Gunagam, Virodh Korena. In you, the nature of being an Atmarama, self-satisfied, and you being endowed with transcendental qualities, which are actually mutually contradictory features, do not contradict you. Tumi Ishwar Tomar Mahatmya Anabhagrah Jo. You are the Lord. Your glory cannot be fathomed, cannot be, it is so deep we cannot fully understand it. Achin, Vikalpa, Vitarka, Vichar, Pramanabhas, Kutarkamay, Shastra Dara, Vyakulanta Karan, Dur Avagraha Badi Dige, Vivad, Jestole Samapta Hoy, Sestole Kohomai Samasta Maya Ubarata Hoy. That place where proponents of evil intentions, because their hearts are agitated by recent unsure, merely rational analysis and superficial sources of valid knowledge and false logic. Their minds are disturbed by all of this. So the time when they stop all their argumentations in that place, then all kinds of illusions, deceptive illusions also stop. Tad agochar atmamaya arthat achintya chit shakti ke madhye grahan koriya, tumi jaha korite ichha kar taha tomar pokkhe durghata noy. Your atma maya or your inconceivable spiritual potency, which is beyond their range. You keep it with you. And whatever you desire to do, you do that. Nothing is impossible for you. Jehetu tomar swarup advay, because your nature is non-dual. बद्ध जीव रिगे माइक स्थूल लिंग रूप शरीर वो आत्मा जे रूप स्वरूप पृथक तुम्हार सच्चिदानंद स्वरूपे से रूप द्वैत नय. There is no duality in you. The conditioned jivas, they have a body made of maya in the form of the gross and subtle body, and they themselves are atmas. So they have duality between themselves and their body. So now you are having a Sachidananda nature. So naturally you're distinct from all of them, and therefore you do not have such duality or thought. In other words, Tomar dekha dehi gunaguni avayava avayavi roop dvaitan nai. You do not have duality between the body and the embodied, between the quality and the possessor of the quality, between a part and a whole. Tarkatara taha jana jaina. This cannot be understood through logic. Okay, I'll stop with that. Somebody please put a note in Telegram that I have completed 1.14 in Bhagavatarga Marichimala. Next time when we get time, I'll resume from that point. Okay. Panchakalpatarvesha Kripasindrakhevacha Padithanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha. Somapati Gauranga Prabhu has a question. Yes.
Oh, why these slokas are like here and there, not in a sequence?
That is
Sometimes
called thematic study. Thematic study is you take a certain subject and you analyze statements spread throughout Vedic scriptures. The entire Shatsandarbha is like this, but that is even more complicated analysis. This is a very mild form of analysis. Thematic study, it is called. What we are normally doing is sequential study. This is called thematic study. To understand the scripture properly, both are required. Like when you study the Upanishads sequentially, that's a sequential study. When you study Vedanta Sutra, then that is thematic study. Because there also Vyasadeva will start referring to something from Chandogya, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Then you'll go to Chandogya Upanishad. Then you'll take something from other place. Thematically he analyzes. Both are required to have a thorough understanding of the subject.
Now, on which topic actually he is discussing?
He's discussing about Bhagavatam being the supreme source of valid knowledge. So he's building up an argument for that. First, he pointed out that the Vedas are the source of knowledge for humanity in general anyway. Anyway, all whatever we hear is eventually originally come from Vedic knowledge. But just by studying the Vedas, the Shruti scriptures alone directly, you will not be able to understand it. One reason is because of your own conditioning. Another reason is because the nature of the Supreme Absolute Truth is beyond ordinary rational analysis. You'll have to submit to his own method of revelation. So he will build up that point. He'll come to that. More and more verses he'll present. He'll come to that conclusion. And then he'll come to the conclusion that therefore, you should just shut up and listen to Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is that Supreme Absolute Truth's own revelation of his own nature. It is the final explanation of all the Vedic scriptures. We will present that. It will become clear. Okay?
Yes, bro.